Managers, there's always an opportunity for you to mentor people even if you don't know it's coming. Sometimes they sneak up on you. I was once interviewing an internal candidate for a role on my team. So by internal candidate, I simply mean they already worked at the organization. The interview was a complete bust. They were poor at interview skills in the first place, unable to answer succinctly or demonstrate subject matter knowledge. But what's worse, they were missing the key component that is an advantage for every single internal candidate. They hadn't done their homework. They had not talked to anybody on my team. They hadn't, talked to any of the departments that we supported. They weren't even able to talk about the value that we bring to the organization. It was almost as if they were there to find out what we did. So obviously they didn't move forward in the process, but I did speak to their manager afterwards. And I want you to know that this was a positive conversation. I wasn't ratting anybody out. I simply asked them if they thought the candidate would be open to some feedback a little while later regarding their interview. And they appreciated that I asked, and that's the first thing. You've got to make sure you're asking for permission. You can't just jump out of your swim lane. And the person was open to receiving the feedback. So that's the second step. You've got to make sure that somebody is willing and ready to receive feedback. You just can't go unsolicited spewing off your feedback to somebody else. So we met. It was clear that this person was pretty lost where they were at. They didn't know what they wanted to do. So we spent a little time going over what kinds of activities and roles were of interest. And I gave them some suggestions on what they could do before a role came up next time. So it wasn't in my department, but we talked about job shadowing, just saying, hey, I'm really interested in what your team does. Do you think I could job shadow and get a better feel and understanding of, what's involved? You obviously can talk to the team, and when a job posting goes up internally, ask to speak to the hiring manager. I don't know a single hiring manager who doesn't have 10 or 15 minutes time that they could not give to an internal potential candidate who sometimes is the dream candidate, simply to talk about who you're looking for, what skills you're looking for, what they could bring to the table. So when the time came, they knocked it out of the park, and they did move internally to another department. And I guess what I want to leave you with today is, in a situation like that, that's a little bit more formal of giving feedback, you want to make sure you check those two boxes. You're talking to their manager, and you're getting permission both from their manager as well as finding out if they're even open to receiving feedback. That way, when the conversation happens, it's very clear what the intent is. I don't want to leave you, however, with the impression that you can't mentor somebody who's not on your team. You just have to approach it very carefully, and I'm going to talk about that in the very next video. See you then.